Hi, and welcome to this tutorial on how to use GenAI to improve your project schedules. The goal of the tutorial is to give you some ideas on using GenAI to improve your project outcomes, since a quality schedule reduces project uncertainty while a weak one hides risks, has poor estimates, and makes delivery less predictable. We'll start with a quick recap of risk management and GenAI, and then I'll walk through some prompts that you can use right away to assess your schedules. To establish a common understanding of what a risk is for this tutorial, we will use a simple definition of risk as being anything that could be, or already is, impacting your project in a negative way, undermining its activities and outcomes. That's a concept inherent in the major risk management frameworks like NIST, ISO, ISACA, and PMBOK. Risk management is a proactive, iterative, repeatable, and standard process to analyze and mitigate project risks. This framework can have 6 to 10 processes depending on the risk standard. The circle diagram is a unified model that combines several standards into 7 risk processes. Risk management should be blended into the project management framework and its tasks included in the project's work schedule. Last, risk and issue logs, which most project managers use, are passive and reactive and not an effective risk management tool. If you are curious as to the limitations of risk and issue logs, enter the prompt shown on the slide into your GenAI application. So, how does risk management and GenAI benefit your project? Since 1970, surveys and research on IT projects have consistently shown that the number of projects experiencing significant problems or failing ranges between 40 and 70%. It appears that project managers continue to repeat the same mistakes. As discussed, GenAI, as a risk management tool, can help project managers more effectively assess risks, identify and implement risk mitigations, and track a project's performance. Risk management can help IT teams to meet their business objectives and project ROI targets. With GenAI, project teams can do more, faster, improve the quality of their work, improve project processes, and achieve desired project outcomes. Some ways GenAI supports project managers and project teams are assisting with setups and coding, providing technical information, providing how-to guidance on processes, setups, and development, comparisons and analysis, monitoring project progress, and by enhancing productivity through automating repeatable tasks, document drafting, application administration, and code generation. Let's talk about the process for using GenAI for a simple project risk assessment. The diagram shows a 6-step process. 1. Upload templates or files to be used for comparison or risk analysis, such as a hybrid project schedule, sprint schedule, or Agile backlog. 2. Write and execute your prompt. 3. GenAI will then perform its analysis and display the results. 4. Review results and perform additional prompts as needed. In this step, you must review the results since AI does make mistakes. This is called human in the loop. 5. Implement mitigations if identified. If GenAI has not provided recommendations for risk mitigations, prompt for additional information on next steps. 6. Report issues and risks to the project team and stakeholders, then update risk and issue logs. These steps are simple and quick to execute and will provide a wealth of information to help you improve your project. AI-enabled project and risk management applications are increasingly coming to market. However, projects are unique, so having the flexibility to write a risk analysis prompt tailored to a project is beneficial. Writing prompts for risk assessments does not need to be complicated. Here are a few considerations. 1. Make prompts simple. Prompts can be sequential and iterative use everyday language to tell GenAI what you want it to do and what you want for the output. You can do iterations and build on your questions. There are no mistakes. 2. Use templates and file uploads as discussed to support comparisons and evaluations. 3. It takes project management knowledge and creativity to ask the right question. If you are a CSM, CSP, or a ACP, and have not had traditional project management training, consider getting a CAPM or PMP. 4. Know the limitations of AI. Be the human in the loop, always validating AI results. 5. Remember, like other aspects of software development, garbage in will result in garbage out. You have to ask the right question in the right way to get the information or analysis you want. There are lots of great prompt writing YouTube videos, manuals, and courses if you want to learn more or improve your Gen AI prompt writing skills. Hybrid and Agile projects have slightly different risk profiles. Before we look at using Gen AI to analyze schedules, let's do a quick survey of the types of risks and Agile project experiences. My prompt was, create a bullet list of Agile processes that should be assessed for a risk analysis. Let's scan the risk domains being shown in the ChatGPT response video. The video shows 17 risk domains, with many risk points. In reality, you'll only focus on key risks for mitigations. The Agile Risk Summary is a good review of what a risk manager may look at when performing a risk assessment on your project, or what risks you may want to delve deeper into. Now, let's look at the risk profile of a hybrid project. The prompt used for this risk inquiry was, create a bullet list of hybrid processes that should be assessed in a risk analysis. This could have been written, list all the risks that a hybrid project could experience by SDLC phase. The list would be different than the one shown in this video. Let's scan the 17 processes and the risks identified by ChatGPT shown in the video. Each of the processes have many risk points to consider. Again, in reality, you'll only focus on key risks that impact your project. The Hybrid Risk Summary provides a good roadmap on what to consider when planning your project or performing a risk assessment. Now let's jump into the risk identification process for schedules. Here are some general considerations. No two projects or schedules are the same, so Gen AI is useful for tailoring a risk analysis for a project. While there may be a variety of different types of schedules to assess, it's important to evaluate a total end-to-end schedule for the entire project. Regardless of the type of schedule you are performing a risk analysis on, task-level granularity is important for quality of time and work effort estimates. Whether an Agile project with stories or a hybrid project with requirements or functional and non-functional specifications, these units of work should be decomposed to the task level. Let's look at Agile story decomposition in a little more detail. Often, Agile teams will use stories as their unit of work for planning and estimation. This approach isn't recommended and can lead to a variety of project risks and problems. A project without story decomposition to the task level is a red flag, which usually initiates discussions with the executive sponsor about the negative impacts of this practice. Here is a prompt asking Gen AI to list the issues and problems of not decomposing stories for sprints. The ChatGPT response video lists the problems with this practice. Like stories, hybrid project requirements, or functional and non-functional specifications should also be decomposed to the task level, since granularity is needed to reduce project estimation and work product uncertainty. If you have an integrator who insists that they can do your project without wasting time on story decomposition, I suggest having a contract with clawbacks and penalties for timeline overruns, change requests, defects, and functional gaps. There are a variety of problems that can occur with a sprint schedule. Having a good schedule with stories decomposed to the task level, realistic work effort estimates, and start and end dates is essential for reducing project uncertainty and achieving on-time, on-budget outcomes. Here's a simple prompt that you can run, which lists the types of risks to look for in a sprint schedule. It's worth running this prompt and reviewing the results. But for now, let's just scan the ChatGPT response video to take a look at the types of problems a sprint schedule can have that you can perform a risk analysis on. As mentioned previously, you may want to focus only on those parts of the schedule where the risk analysis suggests there is a problem. Hybrid project schedules have a different risk profile than Agile schedules, although they do share some common risks. Here's a simple prompt that you can run that will list the risks of a hybrid schedule. Notice that the schedule includes sprints. Scan the video as it shows the risk areas that ChatGPT returned in its response. As mentioned previously, you can focus mainly on the parts of a schedule where risks have been identified. If you automate your prompts, you can more fully and iteratively evaluate the risks of your schedule, saving lots of time and effort. Some Agile projects develop a full sprint plan. This image is an extract from a plan that was used to estimate the project's overall timeline, effort, staff resources, and cost across all sprints. For the plan to provide value, it requires that you decompose stories to the task level and have work efforts, along with start and end dates for each task. If your project has done a plan with this granularity, then you can use GenAI to help you validate and tune the number of sprints, work effort per sprint, and total project work effort, along with identifying missing information. This image is an extract from an MS project sprint schedule. In this example, the story is decomposed to the task level. There are hidden risks with an out-of-the-box Jira or ADO schedule in that these products do not use Agile structures that decompose sprints to the task level with task start and end dates. There is a setup customization you need to do for these products. As discussed, not decomposing your stories to task level creates a variety of project risks, including inability to accurately forecast work effort, inability to accurately track remaining work, inability to forecast sprint and the overall project timelines accurately, inability to detect late starts, identify bottlenecks, or to test if your schedule is realistic. As a project manager, I want to review any issues or potential issues I need to fix. The prompt for this sprint risk review is, read this sprint story task file and perform a risk analysis and make recommendations to improve the sprint SDLC. Let's scan the ChatGPT response. As a risk manager, auditor, PMO, or executive sponsor, the response shown in the video gives risk information that can be discussed with the project manager on how to improve the trajectory of a project to avoid downstream problems. Notice that there were a lot of risk issues to be reviewed for this sprint. In this example, I especially liked the top 10 risks and suggestions for improvement at the end of ChatGPT's response. This video shows an example of a risk audit worksheet that presents questions to guide the audit by SDLC phase. You can ask ChatGPT to generate an audit worksheet for any risk analysis you run. Generating these types of risk deliverables is a time saver and useful for easily structuring a risk analysis. The worksheet can be configured to be self-scoring and can be incorporated as documentation when discussing project risks with project managers, executive sponsors, or stakeholders. Another suggestion from ChatGPT is the creation of a downloadable prompt library. This Excel workbook has significantly more risk prompts than the audit worksheets and can be used to automate prompt execution. Let's take a look at this example workbook. Again, having GenAI create risk deliverables is a time and work saver, enabling you to create repeatable risk analyses. Notice that the workbook generated for this risk prompt has multiple tabs. The tabs are used to separate various prompt activities and a dashboard. Automated scoring is also available as part of the workbook. In closing, the biggest risk to a project is resistance to change. Egos, politics, untrained staff, and fear of losing control are all issues that can create resistance to using GenAI. But if the technology can be appropriately adopted, risk analysis can be easy, quick, and provide a variety of analyses and outputs to improve your project. Whether you're managing a waterfall, hybrid, or an agile project, reducing project risks comes down to the following basic concepts that Gen AI can help with: stabilizing your project, diagnosing root causes, rebuilding and restructuring your project strategy and schedule, validating that adequate testing is occurring, validating that adequate communications and involvement of stakeholders is occurring, ensuring transparent reporting, and performing risk management. The AI world is moving at lightning speed with significant implications for project and risk managers. I think it's appropriate to say that to remain competitive, one needs to stay at the forefront of the changes that AI is bringing to the IT world. We hope you found this tutorial informative and useful. Visit coffeecatsolutions.com for our other project management, risk management, and IT career and training tutorials. Again, thanks for watching and for taking the time to be with us.